and including Inglewood as well. We have to be careful there. The radar has all those hooks and curves to it, and that's just telling us that these are supercells that are moving through. They don't have a lot of lightning. We haven't had reports of hail, but almost every storm has shown rotation. So you can see from Little Village to back of the yards, right to Lakeshore Drive. I mean, it's all the way to the lakefront, and it's that very busy area. But as far as current warnings go, I guess this is good news because now the National Weather Service just canceled for Chicago, because we noticed the last few times when we were showing the radar closer to the city as this whole complex moved in, that it's more of these heavy clusters of storms and then more of the high winds versus the tighter rotations as we saw in the western suburbs and the western parts of Cook County. Here's a live look, though, next to me at Midway Airport. You know, many of you west behind the front probably have some clearing skies. That's good news, but we're not out of the woods just yet with all this activity we still see here parallel to the Stevenson. So from Oak Lawn to Midway to the south side to the lakefront. This is the area now that we are focused on to see that damaging wind threat. We're not seeing the tight couplets of rotation, but we're seeing incredible pictures like what you see next to me of the city. Eerie looking sky because these are moving rather quickly and they're well developed. They're healthy and loaded with not only moisture but also the heat of the afternoon. We started most of the day cool in the 60s, and all of a sudden that warm front moved in, and that's what kind of instigated the early activity to start. And it also started to turn some of those thunderstorms. But now we can see that the heaviest rain is sitting on the south edge of the Stevenson Expressway. So I just want to give you a tighter look here where we still could see that damaging wind threat. And we're talking about these communities that are very close to the Stevenson Expressway all the way to the lakefront. So we'll start here of Burbank. Burridge, I think you're okay though now, because as we mentioned, the front is coming through and you are on the other side of it. So that is good news. But when you get into Bronzeville and Inglewood and the south side of the city, that's where we do have some concerns still with those powerful storms possibly showing signs of rotation before they push out over the lake. So incredible amounts of rain with these two. It'll be interesting to see the rain totals we receive with this. So Brighton Park to back of the yards, and Bridgeport and Bronzeville. And here is the lakefront. You can see a lot of the energy now pushing offshore, but still these the radar looks kind of messy at this point just because we are seeing that damaging wind threat. We're not seeing the well-defined couplets that we saw earlier. So the Weather Service now saying the tornado warning for central Cook was canceled early, so now we are warning free, but we are just looking at this area I just showed you south of the Stevenson for possible rotation. But what we see here is just on the velocity signature. This is our Doppler wind, and that is just estimating the winds for us, and it's really just telling us, no, we do not see any rotation, but what we see are some very high winds around, especially around Bridgeport, because these areas right here, Bronzeville, back of the yards, Hyde Park, see those lighter shades where it's almost a cream color, a very light pink? That is telling us that those are incredibly strong winds. So these communities could see damaging winds right now with these storms as they are moving through, getting ready to move over the lake. So not showing clear signs of rotation, but definitely showing that damaging wind profile. And that's what we would expect when we see these kinds of returns showing up on the radar. And then you add to that the very heavy rain that is falling across this area. Interesting to note, we had to check to make sure our lightning detection feature was on, and earlier when we were looking at different data, it just wasn't really reflecting a lot of lightning with this system because these storms were just moisture loaded, moving through these communities and then starting to rotate. So from Marquette Park to Inglewood here all the way to the lakefront. This is the area now where we have those torrential rains. We have a real flood threat here, so we're going to watch for that as well, but also the capability that any of these storms at any time could start areas of rotation. But right now I do think that it's more of a damaging wind threat and a hail threat with what's left here. The city of Chicago looking a lot better, but south of there, as we get into this area between Midway and the lakefront, down to Inglewood, through back of the yards, that is the area that is seeing these incredibly heavy amounts of rain just because we had the humidity levels pick up with this storm system coming in. Now I want to show you the wider view As we give those communities that are in the clear for the western suburbs, you can see why. Actually cloud-free now. Here is the tail end of that front as it sweeps through. It's not through yet of those communities I was just zoomed in on. And you're not done yet here at the rim of the lake for northwest Indiana, but it's not as powerful as it looked earlier today when it first set foot in this area to Rockford. So I guess that's good news that we have the lakefront to let some of these storms go over. But we're going to watch that area from Midway to back of the yards to the lakefront, Joe and Erica, just for the possibility still of rotation. Right. But I am concerned with the flood threat there and the threat for damaging winds, because our velocity scale is showing evidence that that could certainly be happening. Quickly, Mary Kay, before we let you go, how soon before that moves out of the area and out of threat to the south side? It looks like, well, now that we haven't had warnings for a while, that's a good sign. And also watching the language coming from the National Weather Service, they are saying the worst is behind us. Okay. So that's good news. That is, for sure. Mary Kay, thanks very much. So it has been a wild night, as Albert pointed out, like seven unconfirmed reports of tornado. What, up to eight? Up to eight. It's just been a crazy night of weather, and we knew this afternoon when Albert and Mary Kay came up to talk with us about what was happening and what they expected. The terminology the National Weather Service was using was different than that they were used to hearing, in terms about these explosive storms and the fear of this giant hail and the fear also of these powerful tornadoes, not just tornadoes, but powerful tornadoes. And it's been quite an active evening, for sure. It certainly has lived up to the warnings that were coming out, the language that Albert was mentioning earlier in the day. And we saw, and they've been tracking how fast moving these are and how one came right after the next. And one of those locations, of course, is Lyons, and that's where our Jermont Terry is tonight. He's been showing us the damage there, down power lines, windows shattered. And from what Albert was saying, because of what he was noticing with that, Jermont, he believed that it could be signs of tornado damage as opposed to straight line winds. We know that you also have the fire chief out there, Gordon Nord, who's going to talk to you about what is going on exactly in Lyons.
Yeah, I'm right now joined, I lost you for a second, Erica, in that toss, but I want to let you know that I'm joined by the Lyons Fire Chief, Gordon Nord. Chief Nord, let's talk about it. Our meteorologists, Mary Kay Kleiss and Albert Ramon, are saying that this appears to be tornado that came through.
Well, it certainly appears to be.
All right, so what are you guys dealing with? We know that this trucking company is completely destroyed. What's the situation here, sir?
Well, right now it's a multi-jurisdictional response here. This right on the border of the village of Lyons and the village of McCook. So we're both out here, Riverside's out here, Brookfield's assisting us, and right now we're just trying to survey the damage.
All right, what do we know? I mean, this is just not here on 47th Street. It's going over into McCook. This is to miles. As we survey the damage here, we see trees down.
Yes.
This building here, destroyed, you guys had a fire, correct?
Yeah, we had the power lines came down, started a little fire there. We were able to hit it with the deck gun and get it out. But right now the damage in Lyons looks like it's from Harlem Avenue to Joliet Avenue, from Joliet Road to 47th Street. McCook's damage spreads into their jurisdiction, and Pleasant View's dealing with another situation down the road.
So if you had to guess, this tornado was on the ground for how many miles, how many?
You know what, we were at the firehouse watching it approach, and it looked very nasty. You could see debris floating around in the clouds. And then all of a sudden we started getting the calls.
And those calls were rampant, I would imagine.
Yeah, one after another.
I talked to a young lady, she said she could definitely hear the sirens. The sirens went off.
The sirens went off 3 times.
3 times?
Yes.
And when you guys arrived here on scene, obviously right now, if we pan a little bit back, we can see that you guys are still dousing fire on these power lines. And was there also an air conditioner or a gas
There was
concern?
a gas leak at the same time.
So it was a gas leak and the power lines went out.
And when we got here, the tree that's over here was across the street. So we had the tree trying to be removed, looking at buildings here that had the roof taken off, and also a gas leak in the fire here.
Chief, I know you've been doing this for some time. How does this compare to what you've seen when it comes to tornadoes and severe warnings?
Well, luckily we haven't had too many over the years, but we have had some severe weather occurrences. So, I mean, all things considered, with everything that's going on, I think all the towns have banded together and everyone's working together to get it resolved quickly.
And Chief Nord pointed out to us that we do not have any reports of injuries. Yes, we have a lot of damage. I just received some new video from the backside of this building. I'm going to try to share that with you guys in just a few moments. But again, this is the severe weather that we're covering here in Lyons, and we're going to try to talk to more people about what happened here today. Back to you, Joe and Erica.
All right, Jermont, thanks very much. We'll see you with that new video soon. All right, now we do have some images we want to show you. This is video coming out of O'Hare Airport. That was one of the areas that Albert and Mary Kay said was in the path of some of these storms. And look at the sheer amount of people inside here, crowded into those tunnels. You know, you probably recognize those overpass or those tunnels there from when people are going from one terminal to the next. It looks like they're trying to get away from the windows, get packed inside there. I'm sure a lot of them are concerned for their safety. Thankfully, at this point, we haven't heard of any injuries there, but you can imagine the chaos that could be going on and the fear as people are trying to find a place to safely stay until those warnings pass by.
Right, one of the unconfirmed tornado sightings tonight was in the O'Hare area. I don't know, control room, if we can pull up that video from Captain Hills again, but that to me was just stunning to see the size of that funnel cloud, and it went all the way from the cloud level down to the ground, and it was quite wide as it appeared. So hopefully we can, if you haven't seen that, stick around because it's coming up here in just a second.
And Mary Kay, she specifically mentioned that because she could see it almost touching the ground there, that it was an indication of a tornado as opposed to Albert. And if I don't know if your mic is open here, if it's not touching the ground, take us through the technicalities of this. So what about this makes this one that you would say would be a sign of a tornado versus not touching the ground there?
Yeah, that's definitely a tornado. So you're looking at lofted debris, and as the video plays out, you'll actually see the debris spinning upwards. So that is a confirmed tornado right there. Video from earlier, it's not live, a video from earlier at Campton Hills. And yeah, see the condensation cloud reaching all the way to the ground and pulling debris. Just unbelievable video with these thunderstorms that, you know, on radar, there you see the debris rotating, right?
Yep.
On radar, they weren't that impressive. But the atmosphere is so conducive to rotation that you get something like that. And look at that, even a little bit of a hint of a rainbow on the left side of that tornado. So if it wasn't touching the ground, we'd consider it a funnel cloud, but that is a classic tornado that is on the ground. And actually, I want to show you this. Speaking of a rainbow, we'll come back to me at the wall, and we've been keeping an eye on this rainbow here out over the lake. This is from the Hancock looking down to the south. And we can now give you the all clear from bad weather, severe weather, in downtown, in the Loop. South side still dealing with it. You see the dark clouds out in the distance, and there's still some gusty winds, but no warnings in effect. Joe and Erica, we're talking about tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes. These are unconfirmed reports, and right now there are 8. And there's a cluster here in the west central corner of Cook County, and then up here around O'Hare, where we have that damage, and then out here towards northern DuPage County into Kane County, and not too far from Algonquin in McHenry County. So these are unconfirmed. The Weather Service is going to be doing surveys. It may take over a week from them to visit every single one of these, and this number may go up based on what they survey, or may be going down. We call them unconfirmed because the Weather Service could get multiple reports from the same tornado, right? So you see this cluster here, not too far from Vermont was reporting from, could be from that same thunderstorm that produced multiple touchdowns. So just wanted to show you that map. Let's get back to Doppler radar, and our favorite part of the radar is that things are quieting down and we continue to give the all clear. So from downtown, North Shore, Lake County, McHenry County, all clear. Kane County, all of DeKalb County, all of DuPage County, all clear. The front is still stretched right across Will County, so Joliet and southward. There's no signs of explosive development anytime soon, but we can't give you the all clear just yet from Joliet to Kankakee into northwest Indiana, and we also can't give the all clear just yet for southern sections of the city of Chicago into southern Cook County. So with that being said, we still have a tornado watch that's in effect until 10 p.m. This will get canceled before 10 o'clock because it's 7:45, and I think a lot of this is going to be out of our area probably in the next hour 15 minutes. But still, northwest Indiana, Lake County in Indiana, Porter County, Jasper, Newton County, tornado watch remains in effect for you, meaning that conditions still favorable for additional tornadoes to develop, although there's no active warnings right now. You see Cook County's all lit up just because they're not going to split Cook County in half, but it's mainly southern areas of Cook County into Will and Kankakee County that we're keeping an eye on. So here's a look at the latest radar scan. As we mentioned, we can give the all clear now, the heart of the city, the Loop, downtown, West Town, out towards the western suburbs, up towards the north and northwestern suburbs. You're in good shape. None of this activity, though, is rotating. It's downpours. And actually, I'm curious because I haven't looked at this in about 30 minutes. If any of this is producing active lightning, and there's no lightning with this. Lightning is a big indication if thunderstorms are getting stronger. So thunderstorms, they breathe in air. There's updrafts, there's downdrafts. It exhales air, and updrafts build higher up in the atmosphere. And it could be the hottest day of the year, but it's still going to be below freezing, a few thousand feet above us. And as the ice crystals rub together and they create different charges in the cloud, it creates lightning. So lightning is an indication if we're looking at upscale updrafts or growing thunderstorms. We're not seeing that right now, and that's certainly good news. Let's turn on the velocity scan. We've been using this one all day. There's still some gusty winds out ahead of this thunderstorm moving in the Pullman area. This is going to be south of Hyde Park, moving a little bit closer to Whiting, but there's no rotation in this. There's some gusty winds in here, and actually I can show you what the winds are. I'm thinking they're going to be 40 to 45 miles per hour, but we'll turn on this and we'll actually kind of pull. I mean, it could even be less than that. Yeah, so this is showing 20, 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts, so we're in good shape there. And there's no rotation out of these thunderstorms, and we like to see that. So there's a look at the gusty thunderstorms moving across the south side right now. This is a look at the live camera. This is from one of the Clark Street buildings, and this is focused down towards the south. And you still see, this is really interesting, you still see the upward movement in these clouds, right? But see how they kind of tilt like that? Those are the upper level winds that are picking these things up and has allowed for rotating thunderstorms all day today. So this is from downtown. Oh, there's the Willis, the Sears, looking down towards the south. This is that heavy rainfall and thunderstorm still producing 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts on the south side of Chicago. Let's get into the forecast, and then we'll go to Erica and Joe because I want to show you what's going to happen the next couple of hours. We still have that severe weather threat. No warnings right now, but we're keeping an eye on the radar. Southern Cook County, Joliet County, Will County, I should say, in the Joliet area to Kankakee County in northwest Indiana. As we head towards 9 o'clock, severe weather threats mainly in northwest Indiana. As we head 10 o'clock and beyond, we're done with this activity, and we have some hit-and-miss thunderstorms the next few days, but nothing like we've seen this afternoon. Erica, Joe?
Albert, I'm curious about the sighting at O'Hare. Was it literally at the airport? Was it near? Do you know? Did they pinpoint where that was sighted?
I think it was just west, because when we were tracking that tornado warning, it was just a couple of miles west. You may remember us seeing that rotation about 2 miles west of O'Hare, right. And then it tracked, which makes sense because we had a damage report from a warehouse just west of O'Hare. So I'll have to zoom in and see exactly. That's the live picture from O'Hare, and this is a live picture.
On the storm reporting.
Okay.
You said.
Just west of O'Hare, just a couple of miles west of O'Hare, and it's that report right there. But look at this cluster, kind of where Vermont's keeping an eye on the damage in the southwestern areas of the city.
So many different areas hit there, Albert. Thank you. While we're talking about O'Hare, we actually want to go to a phone interview that we're going to have here with the CBS Indianapolis reporter. She's from the Chicago area, Hannah Fullman. And she was actually at O'Hare. So this video that we were showing you of everyone packed into those tunnels trying to stay safe during those warnings, she shot that. And Hannah, if you're with us, I understand that you were about to board a flight to London, if I understand that correctly. Take us through what you were hearing. Did you hear the sirens out there, and where did you go? What were you directed to do, and what were you seeing around you?
Yeah, so it was definitely a crazy sight. We actually had already boarded the airplane before the tornadoes were in the area, and we all sat down, and the flight attendant came on and said, we're all seated, we're ready to go, we're going to try to beat the weather, and she was really excited about it. And then 2 minutes later, she came back on kind of a little panicked and said, everyone get your belongings, we need to get off the plane immediately. And it was just a rush. So we are in the C terminal, the C concourse right now. Right. And we all had to go back underground to where that video was, where all the flashing lights and every single gate, whether you were in the C concourse, B concourse, everyone just flooded down there. And we did hear the sirens, and we kept getting warnings from the airport people. They kept saying, go to shelter in place immediately. There's severe storms in the area. Go to shelter in place immediately. So we were down there, I would say, for about half an hour. And then they lifted it, and I'm actually back on the airplane right now.
Oh, wow. Well, how long did it take from the time you got off the plane, Hannah, to the time you got down and into safety? And I'm curious, how orderly was it? Was there any sense of panic?
So it was pretty orderly for a little bit, and then it started to get a little panicky. Some people were pushing, and you could hear people yelling and screaming, saying, oh, my gosh, get out of the way, get out of the way. It was kind of a mad rush toward the end, but everyone did get down there safely. It definitely took some time for everyone to get back down there. But I think in total it probably took about 15 minutes for the entire airport, 15 to 20 minutes for the entire airport to get down there. They were using elevators, they were using escalators, they were using every kind of way to get down.
Well, Hannah, we're happy to hear that you and everyone out there seems to be safe. And boy, to be able to get so quickly back on that flight might be unexpected, but we wish you safe travels. And thank you for taking the time to speak with us and to show us that video. It really gives us a perspective of what was going on at O'Hare. Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a good trip. Enjoy London.
Yes.
This video just into our newsroom from West Suburban Countryside.
Yeah, you can see part of a roof has been ripped off of a home. There are trees uprooted in the front yard of that same neighborhood. We spoke to one resident who says this is the worst weather he's ever seen in this area.
We couldn't even get out of this parking lot. Roofs blowing off of coals. There was a gas leak. Cars are flipped over. I mean, people were scattering everywhere. This is bad. I've never seen nothing like this.
Did you see the tornado? Did you see it drop down?
Right out of the tornado come right out of the sky. Was over our car. It was spinning. I seen two guys taking a film, and I'm looking up, and here it comes down towards our car. I moved my car over, and it just rolled right over us, and this just started destroying everything.
Well, so far there have been no reports of anyone hurt in Countryside, but you can see that is some of the more significant damage we've seen tonight, and we've seen a lot of it.
That tree snapped like 3 feet up from the roots there, and even many of those big trees toppling over. So a lot of cleanup to happen there. I understand Chief Meteorologist Albert Ramon, you've been tracking something. What are you getting new information, Albert?
So the good news is no active warnings right now. We're keeping an eye on that frontal boundary as it's moving across the south side of Chicago, southern areas of Cook County. We're not able to give everyone the all clear, but I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Thankfully, after what has been a really, really busy late afternoon, early evening, we are quiet over much of Chicago. This is the view from the Hancock looking down towards the south, and you see these explosive thunderstorms still out here in the distance that are currently in southern areas of Cook County. And we were mentioning this just atmospherically, how the thunderstorms are not growing, vertically. They kind of have this little twistiness. They're kind of slanted just a bit, and that's because of upper level winds in the atmosphere. And it's because of those winds today that it took these ordinary showers and storms this afternoon into the evening time, started to spin them like tops and drop multiple tornadoes. Mary Kay is working on a graphic right now of all the different tornado reports that we've had. Right now there are 8 unconfirmed, some of those associated with the same tornado touchdown, but we'll bring that to you in just a second. And that number in the coming days may actually grow. So what's going to happen now, probably even into early next week, is that the meteorologists at the National Weather Service in Romeoville, they're going to go to every report that you see Dramont at and our other reporters at and the live pictures from, and they're going to look at it and they're going to say, is this straight line wind damage or was this tornado damage? And they can tell that by 2 ways. We mentioned this about a half hour ago, and you can do this maybe in your backyard if you have damage. If all of the trees, if everything is blown in one direction, like it was a strong west wind, and which it was, and moved all to the east, it's all scattered in one direction. That's straight line winds. Most of this, you're not going to see that. You're going to see it 360. The damage is going to be everywhere, and that's because you had rotation. So a lot of these will be confirmed tornadoes, and that list may go up or may go down. And once the National Weather Service says, all right, this was a tornado, then they're going to say, where does it rank on that EF scale, the enhanced Fujita scales? An EF0, a weak tornado, EF1. I'm not seeing anything damage-wise. And again, we're just seeing the first pictures. I don't see anything above EF1 damage, Joe.
Albert, what made this storm so unusual? I mean, I've been watching, we all have been watching weather for a long, long time, and typically there'll be a system, right, with one area that you're worried about. This seemed like the entire storm system from north to south brought this concern and fear of tornadoes that were popping up all over and everywhere.
Well, it's been a weird summer, right? So we can say that. It's been a weird summer. So what's been happening over the last week is day after day, we've been dealing with above average temperatures. We have this southerly flow. It's bringing in the moisture. It's bringing in the heat. What made today unusual is we had a front coming in from the west. Let me get to a map so I can show you here, and we'll zoom it out. And I'll show you this in just a second, but we'll zoom out the map. We still have that front. It's on the map right here. So we had some cooler air coming in out of the west. That is a lifting mechanism. That's ignition in the atmosphere. We see that all the time. You get some humid air, you get some unstable air, it lifts it upward, you get clouds to develop, you get showers and storms to develop. The special sauce today, if you will, is we had a warm front also in the forecast. And we see this a lot in the Plain States, and it's usually north of us or south of us. It doesn't usually happen right over Chicago. But we had a cold front out to the west, and perpendicular to that front was a warm front that stretched like that. And when they come together, where they meet like a T-bone, that's where you can have some rapid development in thunderstorms, and that's where you can also have a lot of rotation. So that's what was going on. Atmospherically, when it comes to ingredients, it was not a textbook day. We did not have a ton of instability, and it was hot today and it was humid today, but we've certainly seen hotter and more humid. So I think just where those fronts were set up, right over our area again, front out to the west, warm front perpendicular to it. That and a lot of these, Mary Kay were actually talking about this before the 4 o'clock news, that there wasn't a whole lot of lightning from these thunderstorms, so there means there wasn't a lot of energy, and that energy in our atmosphere is actually measured in joules, believe it or not. So not a lot of lightning, but what we had a lot of is rotation in the atmosphere where winds were changing direction with height. We call that wind shear, and also accelerating with height, and that allows for rotation in the atmosphere. So if you have wind coming from one direction here where we are at the surface, different direction higher above us, you get this natural rotation. Storms don't rotate like this, right? You have updrafts and thunderstorms, upward motion, and that allows for them to become more vertical.
And it also seemed like areas where you were seeing the storms move in, move out quickly, and then being hit again. Is that why, because there was so much rotation, that one area you may feel a sigh of relief because you're in there all clear, but then yet again a warning comes through? Yeah,
so the warm front was its own ignition in the atmosphere, its own what we call lifting mechanism that was coming from south to north. That's what we had, that initial development, and then the front was finally the squeegee. It's squeegeeing the moisture and the instability out of here, right? And that's what you see right here. You see that little green line through southern Cook County, south of Joliet to near Morris. You don't see it as defined as it's moving away from the radar site. Let's put this into motion because you can actually kind of see that little line, that front. But yeah, Erica, that's the reason why. We were just waiting for this guy to literally act as a squeegee and get everything out of here. And I think we're within 15 minutes away from giving the all clear for all of Cook County. City of Chicago, North Shore, Lake County, McHenry County, Kane, DeKalb, areas of Grundy County for the most part, Kendall County, LaSalle County, we're in the clear. We're not going to have to deal with anything anymore. It's areas down here towards the south and northwest Indiana. So Will County, Kankakee County, and all of northwest Indiana that we're going to keep an eye on for the potential for some additional thunderstorms that can turn severe. The likelihood, though, of us getting a repeat of what we saw just a couple hours ago, that window's closing as the sun is about 25 minutes away from setting.
So that the southernmost stretch of this, that line that you had just mentioned, Albert, and the last time we sort of zoomed in on that, we were still concerned about Bronzeville, we were concerned about South Shore and some of the areas on the south side. Where are they right now, and has that moved out onto the lake?
So we got a heavy downpour. Let's actually look at that, Joe. Let's zoom in. This is not far from Whiting. This is about to cross into Lake County. There's Whiting right there. There's Pullman. So this thunderstorm is moving. I'm calling it a thunderstorm. There's actually no thunder with it because we haven't had any lightning with a lot of this stuff. But let's look at the velocity because that's something that has been telling the story. All right, that's interesting. So we got a little flare up on velocity. It's not rotating. That's good news. But if you are in Whiting, you can get a quick wind gust. See the little pixel there? And what we can do is we can actually query that. And I'm guessing, okay, that's a different radar. I'm guessing it's above 40. Yeah, 43 mile per hour wind gust. So it's straight line winds. I don't see any rotation from this activity, though. So and that's ahead of the thunderstorm. So as the rain falls, it brings in that cooler air. It rushes out ahead of it. You probably saw that today. There was a thunderstorm in the distance, and it felt like a cold front was coming in. It felt nice, refreshing before the rain even started. We call those outflow boundaries. That's what's moving into Whiting right now. So we're in good shape there. We're going to keep an eye on northwest Indiana for some additional development. We're not 100% done with warnings, but it looks like that tornado risk is, the window is closing in a big way, which is great. That being said, that tornado watch does remain in effect for Cook County, DuPage County. Within the next 10 minutes, though, we're probably going to get trimmed out of this, and it'll mainly be Will, Kankakee into northwest Indiana, and that's in effect until 10 p.m. So again, the good news is the severe weather threat is ending as we speak, and it's all quiet now here in the city. We've got that one storm. It's not even strong. It's just producing some gusty winds. And just to double check that I'm not making anything up, let's see if there's any lightning out of it. And there's not. There's no lightning out of that particular shower that's moving down towards the south. And it's some gusty winds, but it's below severe weather limits. This is one of the newer models showing at 9 p.m., I should say, 9 p.m. So in the next hour, the best chance for thunderstorms that could still be on the strong side is going to be focused in to northwest Indiana. Southern areas of Lake County, northern areas of Newton County, moving into Jasper County, Porter County, LaPorte County, and then beyond that, and actually, Controller, we need to take down that lower third, please. We have no, I'm sorry, that I'm starting to lose my mind a little bit. You can keep that up. I thought it said tornado warning. It's a tornado damage. You're good. My bad. Exactly, my New York state of mind. I'm ready for some vacation, I think. Anyway, overnight is going to be in good shape. Let me show you the extended forecast. 80 degrees for tomorrow, isolated chance of a thunderstorm, nothing as widespread, nothing as heavy as we saw today. And then notice the mid-80s Friday and Saturday for your end of the work week, into the weekend, and not widespread rainfall, but whenever you deal with heat like this, like we did earlier today, some of these could produce some heavy downpours and maybe some strong storms and some lingering areas of storms Sunday into Monday. I'm enjoying the Q&A with Joe and Erica. What else you got?
Yeah, well, actually, you answered my next question, which was, once we get past this, how many more waves of storms could we have in the following days? But the big headline is that nothing like what we've had tonight, thankfully, will be hitting us. But there is that potential, Albert, as you're saying, for more rain. And we've been talking about, and unfortunately we'll be covering this tonight, the sheer amount of flooding. While we're not seeing, you know, a lot of lightning and thunder with the rain coming down, Albert, there are a lot of areas around the city that have already been so hard hit over the last 2 weeks that could be potentially hit again.
Yeah, so we've been in this weather pattern, as you mentioned, nearly 2 weeks, going back to 2 Sundays ago with the torrential rain that we had that impacted a lot of events, including NASCAR, and that kind of kicked off the stormy weather pattern that does continue tomorrow and Friday and this weekend and even into early next week. Our weather pattern, though, in about 6 days is about to dramatically change. We're about to go from this weird, stormy, cooler than average weather pattern to a hot weather pattern. The high pressure that's been making national headlines in the Southwest, in the South, Texas, and Las Vegas and Phoenix this week, it may get a little closer to us next weekend, and some of the data suggesting 90+ degree temperatures and drying out in a big way. So this is a look at some of the damage, and repeat where that is again. Indian Head Park. So that's a look
Countryside.
Near Countryside.
Yeah,
okay,
Countryside.
That was an area that dealt with tornado warning, and it looks like some the power lines look good, but we got some uprooted trees going on and some damage to that home. So you can see that what we're going to look there, and we'll stay with this for a second, is wind damage. Is it 360 degrees? Is it everywhere? Is it in one location from west to east? And that's the difference between straight line winds and tornadic winds. And kind of looks like all over the place, right? So that looks like maybe that's a little twister that rolled through there. So you see that sign leaning one direction, and then I saw kind of a tree leaning the other direction. So yeah, that could be some EF0 type tornado damage. And as of what we know from the last couple of hours is right now we're looking at a count of 8 unconfirmed tornadoes. Let's go back to my map and I'll show you where all these tornadoes have occurred. Mary Kay will join us here in a bit with some more information. But these thunderstorms coming in from west to east out around McHenry County with damage reported in and around Algonquin. Same thunderstorm, but multiple reports of touchdowns. Areas of Kane County. This is that one thunderstorm that was producing 2 tornadoes at the same time. We had a thunderstorm producing 2 areas of spin, one to the north of Elgin, the other one near South Elgin, and moved into Cook County and portion of DuPage County. That same storm dropped a tornado here in northern DuPage County. And then we had another thunderstorm that produced a tornado with confirmed damage just out towards the west of O'Hare. And then a cluster of thunderstorms here in west central areas of Cook County. And I've been actually meaning to kind of take a little bit closer look at where these have been clustered. And yeah, so this may probably from the same thunderstorm. And this is where Vermont has been reporting live from with some of the damage in Lyons. But you see LaGrange and Lyons. And then this was the, I think this was the damage we were just looking at, right? Just a couple of seconds ago in this portion of Cook County, back off towards the east of the tri-state around Countryside. Joe, Erica?
Albert, just the difference between the EF0 and 1 and 2, is this all based strictly on the speed and the speed of the winds? So
they're going to look at the damage first, right? And they're going to look at the trees down and structural damage, and then they're going to estimate, okay, it took 90 to 100 mile per hour winds to cause that, and then put it on the EF0 to EF5 scale. We're not going to have anything above EF1, it looks like, based on the live pictures that we're seeing right now. And I can actually load that up for you here next time we see it, but we may not get these confirmed reports from the National Weather Service. We'll start seeing them trickle in a little bit tomorrow, but it may not be until the weekend, if not early next week, that we're able to have a full picture of here's where the tornado touched down. It touched down from location A to location B. The width was this, the winds were this, the damage was this. It's a lot of work for our friends at the National Weather Service. You see where the radar beam's coming from. That's Romeoville from the office.
Yeah, EF1 goes to 110 miles per hour, and I don't think we got anything near that, did we?
Based on what I'm seeing, I mean, there could be one. There could be one on a lower end EF1, but it looks like a lot of the stuff we're seeing is an EF0. A tornado's a tornado, though, right?
Yeah. Right.
And gosh, it was, for folks that were watching, especially if you're visiting Chicago, you don't know the area, and we're naming, counties and stuff. We had that rotation move right over the loop. That's why we were trying to name landmarks for you. If you are staying in a hotel near the Bean, if you're staying, in River North, if you're Millennium Park and also Magnificent Mile, you got to do that because we're such a touristy city.
In the height of summer, in July, we've been talking about just the amount of tourists now flocking back to the city. So thank you for that, Albert, in terms of trying to spot for everyone, from our residents, longtime residents to tourists, exactly how to stay safe. Mary Kay and our chief meteorologist, Albert Ramon, have been on top of this all afternoon, even before this severe weather threat, the tornado warnings actually hit. You were getting information earlier. We've been here with you throughout the evening, in the afternoon, and we will continue on our stream in just a few minutes with this continuing coverage.
Yes, so stick with us. We're going to step aside here on air on CBS 2, get back to our CBS programming. But if you are interested in continuing storm coverage, we will see you on the stream. CBS Chicago in just a couple of minutes.
Thank you both for joining us here on the stream.
Thank you, Brad.
Stream whenever you want, wherever you want. We won't judge you. Keep streaming.
When I think about growing up in Evanston, a lot of it is family. It's a real foundational feeling that's never left me. I love the commitment to surviving winter. I love the drive to always be better. I love the passion for our sports teams, taking advantage of those last warm days of summer. There's endless opportunity here to learn about each other. I feel that in this city. And I do still pinch myself when I'm driving in off Kennedy and see the skyline, unless there's terrible traffic.
Here's what you get with your average local news stream. Here's what you get with CBS News Chicago. More breaking live coverage. A closer look at the inauguration of the new mayor. More impactful interviews.
Today, we're finding solutions.
More First Alert weather team coverage.
There's all the clouds we've been dealing with all morning long.
More live content when you want it, wherever you are. CBS News Chicago. More of what you're streaming for.
Cutting the cord on cable? Stream CBS 2 News live every day on CBS News Chicago.
I want you to find.
I believe in not just talking about change, but being part of the change. And how I think you do that is you impact our youth. You'll find me all the time out in the community. You'll find me mentoring. You'll find me there, hoping to inspire our youth in the city. We have a responsibility to go into our neighborhoods, to go into our community centers, to talk to our young boys and girls, and to be there for them, and that's so important to me.
At the end of the day, our mission is to serve the community. And I promised my grandmother that if I got a chance to come home and report in the city that I lived in, I would do everything I could to make sure that the community was represented, that their stories were told. So personally, for me, I sleep very well knowing that I am doing the kind of work that my grandmother would be proud of.
Want to know anywhere you go? Stream CBS News Chicago everywhere you go.
I love this city. It has a lot to do with the people.
Take a picture of us. Who got the camera?
The people here work hard, and people in Chicago also lead with their hearts.
I have Stacy.
And I have Will.
There's a humbleness, I think. When things aren't going well, I think they also reach out and they help their neighbors. Story after story, I've seen people come together to help the people around them. And I think that's what makes a city this size still so special, because it is a community.
You're streaming CBS News Chicago. I'm Jim Williams. Here are your top
Streaming when you should be sleeping? We won't judge you. Keep streaming.
A flood warning in effect for south suburban Flossmoor, the village seeing streets, basements, and backyards flooded out this afternoon. CBS 2's Marissa Perlman is speaking with village leaders about how they're helping neighbors after storms roll through town.
The village of Flossmoor getting a much needed break from the heavy rain that we've seen here all afternoon. But this town is no stranger to weather events. But village leaders tell us with 100-plus-year-old infrastructure, these weather events can take a toll on this community. During a heavy rain, take a drive through downtown Flossmoor and you'll see this. Localized flooding on neighborhood streets. Butterfield Creek inches from being overrun, making bridges impassable. And a neighbor's backyard quickly filling up with rain on Brassey Avenue, something this family says they've experienced for weeks this summer.
It's just hard. It's, you know, people's basements flood, streets flood, and we're always constantly dealing with that.
We're going to have to look at the side streets.
Village leaders Jim Mitros and John Brunke say they've dealt with rounds of severe weather rolling through this summer, and their downtown has faced the brunt of that battle.
We've had a lot of problems with downtown here.
Downtown, where 100-plus-year-old buildings stand tall. But with it, aging infrastructure that they say is no match for this weather pattern.
They weren't designed for the number of homes, the number of people, and the streets. They just weren't designed for it.
Their sewer system, too, is outdated for the amount of rain the village has seen.
The problem is now all of our storm sewers and drainage systems are not designed to that new rainfall numbers, so that's a struggle for us. We have to work to do upgrades to certain systems.
But they have a plan. They've recently redone streets with permeable pavers so water can go underground and are working on a project to divert some water into Butterfield Creek.
We're always working on drainage and flooding concerns.
And they say in a weather event like this,
crews are out clearing basins right now as we speak.
They're responding to neighbors to work through potential weather damage.
We take our resources and put them where there are problems.
That Butterfield Creek project is set to start here in 2024, but with any town that's known for its 100-year-old buildings, financing is always the biggest problem when it comes to infrastructure improvements. Reporting in Flossmoor, I'm Marissa Perlman, CBS 2 News.
The city of Chicago is hoping to avoid a repeat of incidents like this. Flooded basements after heavy rains a few weeks ago. The Metropolitan Water Reclamation District is asking neighbors to conserve water if they can.
Here's what you get with your average local news stream. Here's what you get with CBS News Chicago. More breaking live coverage.
A closer look at the inauguration of the new mayor.
More impactful interviews.
Today, we're finding solutions.
More First Alert weather team coverage.
There's all the clouds we've been dealing with all morning long.
More live content when you want it,
Wherever you are.
CBS News Chicago. More of what you're streaming for.
Thank you both for joining us here on the stream.
Thank you.
Stream whenever you want, wherever you want. We won't judge you. Keep streaming.
When I think about growing up in Evanston, a lot of it is family. It's a real foundational feeling that's never left me. I love the commitment to surviving winter. I love the drive to always be better. I love the passion for our sports teams, taking advantage of those last warm days of summer. There's endless opportunity here to learn about each other. I feel that in this city. And I do still pinch myself when I'm driving in off Kennedy and see the skyline, unless there's terrible traffic.
Here's what you get with your average local news stream. Here's what you get with CBS News Chicago. More breaking live coverage.
A closer look at the inauguration of the new mayor.
More impactful interviews.
Today, we're finding solutions.
More First Alert weather team coverage.
There's all the clouds we've been dealing with all morning long.
More live content when you want it,
Wherever you are.
CBS News Chicago. More of what you're streaming for.
Cutting the cord on cable? Stream CBS 2 News live every day on CBS News Chicago.
I want you to find.
I believe in not just talking about change, but being part of the change. And how I think you do that is you impact our youth. You'll find me all the time out in the community. You'll find me mentoring. You'll find me there, hoping to inspire our youth in the city. We have a responsibility to go into our neighborhoods, to go into our community centers, to talk to our young boys and girls, and to be there for them, and that's so important to me.
At the end of the day, our mission is to serve the community. And I promised my grandmother that if I got a chance to come home and report in the city that I lived in, I would do everything I could to make sure that the community was represented, you know, that their stories were told. So personally, for me, I sleep very well knowing that I am doing the kind of work that my grandmother would be proud of.
Want to know anywhere you go? Stream CBS News Chicago everywhere you go.
I love this city. It has a lot to do with the people.
Take a picture of this. Who got the camera?
The people here work hard, and people in Chicago also lead with their hearts.
I have Stacy.
And I have Will.
There's a humbleness, I think. When things aren't going well, I think they also reach out and they help their neighbors. Story after story, I've seen people come together to help the people around them. And I think that's what makes a city this size still so special, because it is a community.
You're streaming CBS News Chicago. I'm Jim Williams. Here are your top
Streaming when you should be sleeping? We won't judge you. Keep streaming.
Marshall Harris here. This season has already been a roller coaster ride for the Sky, and we're talking one of those old rickety wooden coasters. You're not sure if it's actually going to stay on the tracks. Now, former head coach James Wade, he got off the ride to join the Raptors. More ups and downs since. Amre Vatanzaver trying to avoid a new 3-game skid after they had won